Well, hello and welcome to News Hour on Voice of the People TV. I am Vivian Oguche. Before we begin, kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news. First, the headlines. Abuja hospitals discharge patients as nurses begin strike. The federal government appeals to nurses and midwives to shelve strike. Abbas says 55% Nigerian youth unemployed over skills gap. NNPCL forecloses sale of Port Harcourt refinery. 8 buildings collapse in Borno on increased flooding. And police hunt killers of Anambra businessmen. On the foreign scene, over 60 rights groups pressure Macron on Haiti reparations. And in business news, a Shippers Council seeks Abia government support on dry port revival. In sports news, FIMF complains to CAF over WAFCON final refereeing. In entertainment news, Two-Face Idibia marries Natasha Osawuru in Abuja. Now the news in detail. Hospitals across the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, faced chaos on Wednesday as the Federal Health Institutions sector of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives began a 7-day warning strike. Reports said the action forced several government hospitals into Abuja to either discharge patients or drastically scale down operations due to an acute shortage of nursing staff. Their demands included an upward review of shift allowance, adjustment of uniform allowance, creation of a separate salary structure for nurses, core duty allowance increment, and the establishment of a nursing department within the Federal Ministry of Health, among others. At the Federal Medical Center, Abuja, medical services were very sluggish, with patients waiting 4 hours to be attended to. Also, long queues were observed at the General Outpatient Department, Immunization Section, Consultation Section, and Surgical Outpatient Department. On their part, members of the union's executive committee were also present at the hospital to monitor and enforce compliance with the directive, with the chairman, Victor Asu, confirming at the medical center that no nurse was on duty. Meanwhile, the federal government has appealed to the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives to shelve its ongoing strike. Making the appeal during his meeting with the union's leadership in Abuja on Wednesday, the Minister of Labour and Productivity, Mohammed Dingyadi, implored them to step back from their action, stating that strike is not the best solution to industrial disputes. He urged the association to embrace dialogue while the government continues to work on addressing their concerns. NNM had announced a 7-day warning strike beginning Wednesday night over welfare and other pressing issues that border on conditions of service. Meanwhile, the meeting is expected to continue on Friday at the Federal Ministry of Health headquarters as the government works to resolve the dispute. Now, nurses nationwide, including the Edo State chapter of the Nigerian Association of Nurses and Midwives, have commenced an industrial action demanding improved welfare. At the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, union leaders called for urgent government intervention, I should say, to address the nurses' grievances pertaining to allowances, staffing, and rural healthcare support, among others. VPTV correspondent Rhoda Johnny has details. But we will do so subsequently. Now, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, has declared Nigeria's alarming rate of youth unemployment and underemployment, saying it results from a lack of the required practical and technical skills for the modern labor market. Speaking at a public hearing by the House Committee on Polytechnic and Higher Technical Education, Abbas, who was represented by Awal Gwadabi, stressed the urgent need for technical training and skill acquisition by the youth. According to him, the main objective of establishing higher technical institutions is to expand access to quality technical and vocational education. He lamented, however, that about 55% of the youth are either unemployed or underemployed due to the shortage of practical and technical skills required by today's labor market. Abbas noted the growing recognition of science, technical and vocational education as vital drivers of national development, adding that theoretical knowledge alone is no longer sufficient in view of artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, and big data. And away from that report now, the federal government has disclosed plans to set up a livestock breeding center in each geopolitical zone to enhance productivity and sustainability. This was revealed by the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Dr. Aliyu Abdullahi, at an interactive session on government citizens engagement, which was organized by the Ahmadu Bello Memorial Foundation in Kaduna. Speaking on agriculture and food security, Abdullahi said the federal government is committed to fostering synergy among key sectors to achieve its broad objectives. Noting that the curriculum for young farmers was being upgraded, Abdullahi said the initiative aims to equip the next generation with modern agricultural skills, technology-driven knowledge, and innovative farming practices to strengthen national food security. According to him, the synergy among the Ministries of Agriculture, Environment, Water Resources, Livestock Development, and Marine and Blue Economy are imperative in delivering on the administration's goals. Well, in another development, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Bayo Julari, has declared that the Port Harcourt refining company will not be sold, assuring that rather than the plant's high-grade rehabilitation and retention will be completed. Ojulari's announcement during a company-wide town hall meeting at the NNPC Towers in Abuja ended weeks of speculations over the future of the state-owned refining asset, which is the federal government's most prominent. In a statement, Ojulari, who is still facing public criticism over his earlier comments at the 2025 OPEC seminar in Vienna that all options are on the table, described selling the facility as ill-advised and sub-commercial. It added that the ongoing review indicates that the earlier decision to operate the Port Harcourt refinery before full completion of its rehabilitation was ill-informed and sub-commercial. According to him, though progress is being made on the Port Harcourt, Kaduna, and Warri refineries, the emerging outlook calls for more advanced technical partnerships to complete and high-grade the rehabilitation of the Port Harcourt refinery. Now, the Central Bank of Nigeria has rejected claims that the early exit package it implemented in 2024 targeted to destabilize northerners working in the Apex Bank rather than being a voluntary relocation offer. Affirming the initiative as voluntary, the CBN Deputy Governor, Economic Policy Mohammed Abdullahi, explained during an interactive session on government citizen engagement in Kaduna that the bank was congested at its Abuja headquarters. This, he said, prompted the offer to anyone interested in exiting, but with a huge package. According to him, the bank was so crowded at the headquarters that there was no space, while the limited space and exit routes in the building were converted to offices and hence not healthy for the workers. Abdullahi said that due to the crowded and suffocating space, the insurance company expressed serious concerns about securing the building with its insurance policy, hence the need for decongestion. He noted that the bank's offices in Lagos, Kaduna, and other places had ample space that could absorb a large number of workers from the headquarters at a time, adding, however, that it has been practicing early exit since the past 20 years. Well, turning to other stories now, no fewer than 8 buildings have collapsed in Borno State after heavy flooding hit part of it, with torrential rains submerging the streets and homes, forcing many residents to evacuate. Most of the affected buildings were in Maiduguri and nearby communities and already weakened by their early rains. Though no deaths have been reported, several injuries and widespread displacement have been recorded. However, SEMA says temporary shelters are being prepared while authorities warn of more rains and urged caution in flood-prone areas. Well, let's take a short break, and when we come back, the news continues.
Is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of an individual. It's the fundamental right of everyone to enjoy the highest attainable standard of health, without distinction of race, religion, or political belief. On VOP TV, we bring you Health Check, a show that x-rays different health issues and provides solutions with the help of experts in the medical field. Join us every Saturday, 2 p.m. on Health Check. Health Check on VOP TV. Your health, our priority.
Well, welcome back, everyone. Let's circle back now to Edo State. Now, nurses nationwide, including the Edo State chapter of the Nigerian Association of Nurses and Midwives, have commenced an industrial action demanding improved welfare. At the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, union leaders called for urgent government intervention to address the nurses' grievances pertaining to allowances, staffing, and rural healthcare support, among others. VOP TV correspondent Rhoda Johnny has the details.
Have launched a nationwide strike over poor welfare. The Edo State chapter is part of the protests, citing over 4 decades of government neglect. The Edo NAM branch supports the strikes and urges urgent government action. At UBTH, Mrs. Ellen Egbogbe, the chairman of the Federal NAM branch, demands better allowances, a nursing directorate, and more support for rural nurses.
For the past 4 decades, nurses have been trying to live in harmony with both our employers, both at the local and federal level. It is not because we don't have reasons to go on strike, but because we have empathy for our clients and our patients. But now it is very obvious that the government, they are pushing us to the wall. We are asking government that they should create a department in the Federal Ministry of Health for a director of nurses. Presently, yes, we have a director in the Federal Ministry of Health, but she's not acting on her own. She's answerable to another director, and that's the slight.
Mrs. Queen Stella Taigbe, Edo NAM vice chairman, says nurses had no choice but to strike due to unmet welfare demands.
So we from both state, local government, we have come to collaborate with those in federal to ensure strict compliance, because we have so many unmet needs that the federal government is yet to, grant us. That's why we're here.
Patients at UBTH report delays and fewer nurses on duty since the strike began.
See on strike now, no nurse to answer us now. Patient, pity men to answer us now. Our children, no, I want to go do test. Now they say no, they not get what they want to do my picking test. Why?
Nurses they work, but blessed they know they pay them their real salary, so they come vex, they not go. So and then they do the work.
Nurse is supposed to be on duty because patients in the ward, they need their attention, so that they will attend to them when they are in need of assistance from them, like giving them injection. Or like a child that just left here now, the doctor said they cannot give the baby injection. It's only the nurses that can give the injection before they will attend to the little baby. At least government should give them what they demand for.
NAMS wants the strike will continue until demands are met. In Benin, Rhoda Jumi, DOP TV News.
Well, Rhoda, thank you. Now, as the world marks the 2025 Day Against Human Trafficking, stakeholders have called for concerted efforts to dismantle what they see as organized crime by mostly highly placed individuals in the society. VOP-TV correspondent in Anambra State, Undu Opaleze, spoke to some resource persons on the essence of the day against the backdrop of the rising cases of trafficking in persons. Here is the report.
Slave trade of old appear to have died down, but a totally new form of slavery and trafficking in persons has taken over. In the last 1 week in Anambra State, agents of the state government had to rescue 11 minors at an illegal home in the industrial city of Nnewi and also shut down a baby factory at Omonia, Oyi local government area. This is just as cases of kidnapping and socialite crimes of organ harvesting and forced labor abroad are on the increase. Anambra is not an isolated case, since child and other forms of human trafficking is recorded across the nation and the whole of Africa. The Executive Director, Integrated Anti-Human Trafficking and Community Development Initiative, Intercom Africa, Hope Okoye, says it is time for government at all levels to summon the courage to tackle the menace.
We are using today to bring the awareness and consciousness of the people what this heinous crime, this billion-dollar organized crime is doing, ravaging our society today. You people should speak up, people should report, people should ask questions to verify, to be sure. Okay, if you say you are taking my daughter or my son to to abroad or anywhere to get job, can you come to the Ministry of Men Affairs? Can you go to NAPTIP? Can you go to immigration and ask questions? Or can you look for people that can Google in the internet? Maybe they told you this company or this university or this school or this, because anybody can fall a victim. Ask questions, find out before you limp. Look well before you jump.
Much as Okoye believed the Anambra State government, through the Ministry of Women and Children Affairs, is giving the crime some good fight, the governorship candidate of All Progressive Congress in the state, Prince Nicholas Okachukwu, says human trafficking and other crimes will be stamped out through gainful engagement of the masses in agriculture and in the manufacturing sector.
I remember growing up at Onitsha. I schooled in DMJS and I then grammar. So all the northerners emptied into Onitsha to buy goods to go. Cameroon, Chad, Niger, Lagos, all part of Nigeria comes to Onitsha to buy things. Is that the story now? The answer is no. Use the government instrumentalities to push them to the wall, so they become part of investment of the state. This is part of what happens first. And also engage our youth so that they can be able to take their eyes out of the crime. And because we are doing that, we'll be able to have track of the youth who are into sports from one community or the other.
With the theme of this year's observation as human trafficking is an organized crime and exploitation, all hands are needed to be on deck to stop the aspect of this man's inhumanity against man. Undu Opaleze, Voice of the People Television.
Well, Undu, thank you. Joining us virtually now to analyze some of these stories is activist and public affairs analyst Soyinka Oni. You're welcome. Thanks for joining us on Newshour today.
Thank you very much. You just called me Soyinka. I think when Soyinka you'll be funny now.
All right. All right, thank you so much for that. Now, hospitals across the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, they faced chaos on Wednesday as the Federal Health Institutions sector of the National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives began a 7-day warning strike. Now, reports said the action forced several government hospitals in Abuja to either discharge patients or drastically scale down operations due to an acute shortage of nursing staff. Now, their demands included an upward review of shift allowance, adjustment of uniform allowance, creation of a separate salary structure for nurses, core duty allowance increment, and the establishment of a nursing department within the Federal Ministry of Health, among others. Now, this particular issue, striking nurses, is not just in Abuja. It's happening in Edo State as well, and the nation all over. Now, nurses are saying that we gave you 2 weeks to get your acts together, and the government did not do anything. I don't know if this leaves a bad taste in your mouth, really.
It's even beyond a bad taste. It is shameful that in 2025, after having over 5 presidents in the democracy in quotes, we are still talking about nurses strikes, doctor strikes. And if you look at the demands of these people, they are not ambiguous. They are simple demands: increase allowance, get them a director that is functioning, make them comfortable so that they can treat their patients better, But this has not seemed to be the priority of the leaders, either at the federal level or the state level. In Edo State, the government is busy threatening people. I saw a video of a man beating up, I don't know how true it is, from the governor's people. In the federal level, the president is traveling almost every month out of the country for, in quote, programs, but we know obviously many of those trips are for medical trips. So when these people, the other day, Bello, a former governor, was trying to get access to leave the country, they do not get their health care in the country. So how will you expect them to get our healthcare system perfect? In any sensible country, the people that shouldn't joke with their remuneration, their payment, their salary, their comfortability while they are working are your security agencies, because lives is at risk if they are not, and your healthcare, the doctors and the nurses. But alas, here we are. Strikes, and it's the people that will suffer. I tell the nurses that kudos to them. They should continue with the strike, because if they do not, the government will not listen to them. They listen to nothing else than actions like strike or protest.
So now, I mean, the cliche, it's a saying actually, it's not a cliche, that when 2 elephants fight, the grass is the one that is going to suffer, yeah? So there are people who are ill, some fatally ill in the hospitals, and they are forcefully asked to go home because of this strike. What drastic measures should be taken, though? I mean, if the nurses continue to strike and the federal government does not listen, should people continue to die?
The federal government not listening to the people. Because if you want to blame the nurses and say, oh, please, why don't you continue? Why some of them will still be doing backdoor treatment anyway? Because I've seen those kind of situations before. The truth of the matter is, the condition in which they are serving the people doesn't make them to serve properly. All of us have been to the hospital. If not for yourself, you have been there for people. You look at the way the nurses are agitated, angry. They are doing their job like, they don't want to be there. So basically, they are not 100%. The efficiency is low. So what is the point of having overused, misused, underpaid, angry, and sad nurses treating you, and you go to hospital, they won't diagnose you properly. Before you know it, your loved one is gone, because these people are not focused on their job. Some of them are working in a public hospital, they are running another private one because they are trying to get more funds. So what Nigerians should do, while I also sympathize with those people that are at the hospital and all that, is that we should all join to amplify the voices of the nurses so that the government will listen. They are not responsible. If they are responsible, this will not be happening. But we are not going to say because we don't have responsible government, we just sit and die. The masses should join the nurses and increase their voices so that the government will listen to their demands once and for all. We can't continue to have this. Buhari's regime, there was strike. Jonathan's, there was strike. Obasanjo, it goes on like that. How long will it continue like this?
should join their voices with the nurses. Now, your colleague, Omoyele Sowore, renowned activist, really recently joined his voice with the police. They're striking, police officers and all of that. So we are waiting to see if there's going to be a repeat of something like that, maybe yourself and himself joining voices with the nurses to ensure that their voices are heard. But can we move on to this other one now that has got tongues wagging? Speaker of the House of Representatives, Abbas Tajuddin, has decried Nigeria's alarming rate of youth unemployment and underemployment, saying it results from a lack of the required practical and technical skills for the labor market. What does that mean? I mean, does it mean, like they say, half-baked graduates? Is that what he's saying indirectly? Would you drop this at the doorstep of technical colleges being gradually erased from the education system? What's your take?
Of anybody, the technical or the universities, the only issues I have with them is that they have also become political. And when students come out and say, we are not getting better education, there's low funds to sponsor education, removing subsidy in education and all that, our university system is not working properly, they rusticate them. It's an example in the University of Ibadan, where the Vice Chancellor has attempted, or I would say has attempted already, to rusticate 3 students for raising a placard saying they shouldn't increase the school fees. That's why I blame them. But the people to be blamed is the same people that are complaining. Lawmakers are not complainers. I don't know where we get all these people to be in a political space. A president, a governor, a minister, they are not complainers. You are the one with the resources of the states, either through bylaws, creating laws, or through execution as the executives. But here we are, Abbas, who is the leader of the House of Rep, saying we have big graduates. Whose fault is that? My fault? Your fault? It's your fault. You are the one that have refused to upgrade the educational system. You are the one that have barricaded the universities and the colleges with DSS to monitor students that are supposed to be innovative, that's supposed to have a free mind to think, to express themselves. You are the one that have refused to fund education. Rather, you take your children schooling abroad and you bring them back here to get the best jobs because they have the best degrees. So you cannot just open your mouth as an House of Rep leader and say, oh, we have 55. Why are you giving us statistics? Is that your duty? Go and pass laws to better our education system. But yes, it's true that our education system is stale. We are still operating the education system of the 20s, not even the 60s. Theories. But Nigerians and Nigerian students are brilliant, they are sound, and many of them are carving an niche for themselves. By learning other skills, digital skills and all that, and they are doing great in the society, outside of the country and in the country. But why our education system is like this is the fault of the politicians. Don't we have Ministry of Education? What are they doing there? What budget are they passing year after year? What are they using those budgets to do? So it's a shame that he is the one giving us statistics. The statistics that he should be giving us is the solutions that they have provided, not complaining like he's somebody, a village headmaster.
Well, Ayo, you talked about outdated schools curriculum earlier on, yeah? So is this the fault of politicians now or the educators themselves? People who are in charge of these curriculums, school curriculums, wouldn't they share the blame in what we are talking about as well?
This is how a system works. The ministry propose a law and say, oh, these are the things that can be done to get our system better. The lawmakers look at the law, sit on it and approve it and send it to the executive to implement. The question to ask is that, have the ministry proposed a policy that will better education system? if they have not, and lawmakers themselves, because they have in the House of Rep and the Senate, they have committees. There's committee of education, there's committee of security. What are those committees doing? Do they sit? Are they innovative? Are they thinking to say, okay, what can we do? What law can we pass to better education system? We've not seen any. So the lecturers that are underpaid, misuse, they don't care. But you're not paying them well, so they just want to come to class and take the notes that they used to teach them in the 60s, and they're reading it back to students. I had that experience while I was in the university, and I know it's still happening today. So I don't blame the lecturers for why the education system is not upgraded. I blame them for the lecturers, the vice chancellor, for continuing to suppress the strength of the student demanding for better education. But the fault of the process and the state of the education system is in the hands of the executive, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, his senators, and the House of Rep, who also are not educated. So how do they upgrade our education?
That is a weighty statement you just made, Ayo. But before we wrap up this particular one, the executive is saying that one of the ways they're trying to nip this menace in its bud is by establishing higher technical institutions to expand access to quality technical and vocational education. But how many youths do you think will want to go to a technical college in Nigeria today? Ayo, a few seconds as we wrap this up.
So it's not just building schools. That is not just the solution, because that's always what they think about. You need to create a better system. So sit down and restructure your system. That is the solution. Make education easy. You don't have to go through a lot of process, do economics, you do a lot of subjects that are not necessary. Straightforward education that will help the people. Technology, infuse AI technology into the classroom. That is the beginning of the success of any country. Channel education, if a particular state does a lot of agriculture, let there be so much education, technological agriculture, not co and cutlass, in that state, so that those children will be able to develop that state with their learning. This is diversity. But like I said, we don't have innovative or educated leaders. They cannot sit down and think of better innovation to get the country better. So it's just going to be projects, schools, and there some people will steal the money, and that's it. We'll go back to the same thing.
That's a safe place for us to land on that one. So, Ayo, the NNPCL forecloses or has foreclosed the sale of Port Harcourt, the Port Harcourt refinery. The Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Bayo Julari, declared that the Port Harcourt refining company will not be sold, assuring that rather than, the plans, rather than selling it, that they're going to rehabilitate and retain the completion of that plant. Remember that millions of Naira has been dumped into this particular project. And not so long ago, the owner of Dangote Refinery, Aliko Dangote, had come out to say that that place is totally dead, that is not functional. Now, Bayo Julari had said they were going to sell it, but he's now saying, that was a mistake. It wasn't well thought out. They're not going to sell it. Remember how also former President Olusegun Obasanjo had said, see, you guys, stop acting this drama, that there is nothing happening in the Port Harcourt refinery. So it looks like there is so much clandestine affair, when it comes to this particular one. What's your take on it, though?
Without any mising of words, that the NNPCL, which they are now calling themselves now, is one of the most confused, corrupt, mismanaged, and wasteful agency in this country. They have wasted billions, they have siphoned money, they have confused the entire nation. Because how will a managing director come out and say this and later reverse? Was he sleeping when he said it? But let me say here that the NNPCL does no longer fully belong to Nigeria. That is the truth. It is now run like a private entity. And whoever becomes president tries as much as possible to get some of these things to his side. That's why we never have Minister of Petroleum. It's always the president, year in, year out. The truth of the matter is, these people need to come clean with the state of that agency. The money that have been wasted, that were not used, the money that people stole, put it on the table, let Nigerians see what has been done. And let those people that are siphoned those money pay back our money so that we can put it back into building that refinery. Because the private sectors, like Dangote, will be very happy that Nigeria doesn't have a refinery of its own anymore, totally shut down. It's business booming for them. Let them sell that refinery to Dangote. Dangote will buy it and it will be up and running in 6 months. But with that benefit, Nigerians? No, because private sectors want to make money. You know, so NNPCL, wasteful, corrupt, but we do not have a corrupt-free president that can try them properly. So Nigeria will continue to suffer the lives.
Yeah, but I have 2 questions for you before we wrap this up. So based on what you said now, I mean, you said people like Dangote will be happy if it's sold, right? So as a Nigerian, I want like a yes or no thing. Do you want the refinery, the Port Harcourt refinery, which is basically Nigeria's best at the moment, do you want it to be sold or not?
No. Why do you sell your assets? Atiku alone, when he was vice president, sold over 200 of Nigeria assets, including our coal, our textile, you know, many factories, big multi-millionaire factories that Nigeria created in the 60s, in the 50s. And the one that is struggling, you understand? No. I say it here because I'm into construction. What does it take to renovate a refinery? 6 months is in, if you are serious about doing it. The problem is that they are not interested. They want these companies to continue to take our oil, ship it out, and sell it back to us. That is how they make their money. They are not interested. That is the problem. You know, so not at all. When we get a functioning government, we are going to rehabilitate all our assets, get back all our assets, and have a nationalized asset that belongs to our country. How can you be an oil-producing country and don't have a functioning refinery? Shame on these people.
It's also ironic, really, what you just said. But finally, a few seconds, Ayo. Not too long ago, the House of Representatives had come out to say that about 210 million naira has been unaccounted for by the NNPCL. It's not answered yet. Do you think anything's going to come out of that investigation? The matter is on right now in the House of Representatives.
I'll be very blunt with you. Thieves cannot investigate thieves. That's the problem that we have. It's not possible. That is why we have never had any clear corruption case solved. Thieves, you cannot, because when you want to investigate a particular thief, it will show you your own stealing, and they will off the mic. I know you have heard it before, off the mic. So that's how it's going to end. Nothing's going to come out of it.
All right. That's how we wrap it up, Ayo. That was very blunt, I can tell you. But you've been brilliant on News Hour, as always. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. So I have been speaking with Ayo Oni. He is an activist and a public affairs analyst. You're still watching News Hour on Voice of the People TV. When we return, police hunt killers of Anambra businessman. Stay with us for this story and more. Welcome back, everyone. President Bola Tinubu has approved the appointment of Deputy Controller General of the Federal Fire Service, Olumode Adeyemi, as the new Controller General effective August 14, 2025. In a statement by its Secretary Major General A.M. Jibril retired, the Board of the Civil Defense, Correctional, Fire and Immigration Services said the appointment followed the imminent retirement of the current Controller General, Abdul Ganiyu Jaji, upon attaining 60 years. According to the board, Olumode brings a wealth of experience to the role, having transferred from the Federal Capital Territory Fire Service to the Federal Fire Service and rising to the position of Deputy Controller General, Human Resources at the service headquarters. It added that in the course of his career, he attended and passed all mandatory in-service trainings, command courses, as well as other courses within and outside the country. The board further expressed appreciation to the outgoing Controller General for what he described as his remarkable contributions to the development of the Federal Fire Service, his dedication and commitment, and the numerous initiatives he spearheaded during his period in service. And now the Commissioner of Police in Anambra State has directed all tactical and intelligence units to track down the gunmen who abducted and killed the managing director of fish magnet outlet Ifesinashi Onyekere. Onyekere's assailants, who reportedly attacked and abducted him from his residence in Oka on Sunday evening, were said to have killed him after collecting ransom for his freedom. Confirming the development, the Anambra Police Command spokesman Tochukwu Ikenga said on Wednesday that joint security operatives have recovered the victim's vehicle, which the assailants used to escape the scene. He says that the commissioner's directive followed the recovery of the victim's car along Ukulu Igbariam Road by the joint team of police and Anambra vigilante operatives. According to him, preliminary investigations revealed that the assailants had trailed the victim before the violent attack, during which the deceased was shot in the leg and forcibly taken away. The police said the victim's lifeless body was later found. Well, let's take you to Edo State now, where youths in Auchi on Monday, July 28, 2025, blocked the Benin-Auchi Okene Highway at Jatu Junction to protest worsening gully erosion and rising insecurity, disrupting traffic for hours and urging government authorities to take immediate action. VOP TV correspondent Rhoda Johnny again tells the story.
Edo State on Monday, July 28, 2025, blocked the Benin-Auchi-Ekene Highway at Jatu Junction to protest worsening gully erosion and rising insecurity. Led by the Auchi Youth Council, the protest disrupted traffic for hours while security operatives maintained order. Protest
every day, and the most worrisome of which is that our kidnapping system is those that the kidnappers come to your house to come and pick people right inside their houses. As we speak with you, some of our youth are still in the trenches as I speak. We are just here now to come and show solidarity so that people will know that government will know that out here are really pained. We are really pained. We are calling on government of the state, the federal government.
affecting daily life. The protesters called on state and federal governments to act quickly to prevent further damage.
What we need is funding and intervention so that the remedial works that need to be done of controlling the runoff as well as filling to an extent the already developed gullies, so that people's houses, can be saved and further devastation can be stopped.
Primary responsibility of any reasonable government is to protect the life and property of its citizens. We have this disaster in our hand. This disaster plus insecurity. I think we as a people, we don't want to go into extinction. That's why we are calling on the government to come to our rescue.
Insecurity. They should come to our.
It's true that insecurity in Nigeria seems to have overwhelmed the authority. If I say authority, the armed forces, they are supposed to be in charge of security of life and property.
Benin, Rhoda Johnny, UPTV News.
Thank you. Well, coming up after the short break, a world report, business, sports, and entertainment stories. Stay with us. Well, on the foreign scene now, no fewer than 60 rights groups have signed a letter to French President Emmanuel Macron calling for reparations to Haiti over its crippling payments to France as compensation for lost property after its independence, including slaves. The letter came as activists in Haiti, which has the lowest GDP per capita in the Americas, is battling a worsening gang conflict amid little international support, call for billions of dollars in reparations. According to the letter, the wealth extracted under this ransom set Haiti's GDP growth back by decades and resulted in a cycle of foreign aid dependence and entrenched debt that persists to this day. It added that it is long past time for France to acknowledge and remedy this injustice. Signatories included diaspora and reparations groups in the United States, Africa, and elsewhere in the Caribbean. Macron had said in April he would set up a joint Franco-Haitian commission to examine their painful past, but avoided discussing reparations. Well, business news is next. The Nigerian Shippers Council has called on Abia, the state government actually, to support the revival of the Sialangwa inland dry port and boost trade under the African Continental Free Trade Area. The Executive Secretary, Dr. Pius Akuta, made the call during his visit to Governor Alex Oti at Mwosi, Sialangwa South Local Government Area. Commending the administration's commitment to repositioning Abia as a center of industrial excellence through strategic infrastructure investment, Akuta said the initiative would facilitate the positioning of the state as a trade hub under the AFCFTA. It further recommended the federal government's maritime sector transformation aimed at driving trade and development, adding that the port, which was gazetted in 2006 and concessioned to Eastgate Container Terminal, had stalled at 10% completion due to infrastructure and funding challenges. However, Akuta stated that with the governor's support and renewed concessionaire commitment, the port could unlock major logistics and trade potential for Abia and neighboring states. While in sports news, the Moroccan Football Federation has lodged a formal complaint with the Confederation of African Football over refereeing decisions in the Women's Africa Cup of Nations final against Nigeria's Super Falcons. FIMF cited a potential penalty incident in the 82nd minute, where the center referee allegedly missed a handball by Super Falcons defender Tosin Demi. Morocco's coaching staff and players expressed frustration over the decision. The Super Falcons won the AFCON 2024 title by defeating Morocco 3-2 in the final. Nigerian coach Justin Madugu attributed the win to tactical adjustments made at halftime, while Moroccan coach Jorge Vilda acknowledged fatigue played a role in his team's second-half collapse. The win marks the Super Falcons' record-extending 10th AFCON title. The FIMF's complaint comes after the Super Falcons' victory, with some observers questioning the refereeing decisions. Meanwhile, Nigerian fans and pundits have praised the VAR officials for their role in ensuring a fair game. Controversy surrounding the refereeing decisions has sparked debate among fans and experts, with some calling for CAF to address the issue. Well, entertainment news is next.
Welcome to the entertainment news. Popular Nigerian singer Two-Face Idibia has officially tied the knot with his new partner Natasha Osawaru in a private ceremony held in Abuja. The intimate event was reportedly attended by close family members. A trending video on social media shows the couple posing beside their traditional wedding cake. Recall that Two-Face got engaged to Natasha, a 7 lawmaker from Edo State, in February 2025, just days after announcing his separation from his wife, Annie Macaulay Idibia. This report says that Tiwa Savage is set to release her highly anticipated album, This One Is Personal, on August 29th. The announcement follows the recent drop of her new single, On the Low, featuring British-Nigerian rapper Skepta. This One Is Personal will be her first album since Celia, released in August 2020, a project that cemented her status as one of Africa's leading musical voices. That album featured an impressive lineup of collaborators, including Sam Smith, Naira Marley, Stefflon Don, Dice Isles, Davido, and Hamza. Moving on, in entertainment, lawyers for disgraced music executive Sean Combs, better known as Diddy, have filed court documents seeking his release on a $50 million bond as he awaits sentencing in October. Combs was convicted earlier this month on charges of transportation to engage in prostitution, but was acquitted of more serious allegations, including sex trafficking and racketeering conspiracy, following an 8-week federal trial. His legal team accused that the case is exceptional, describing Combs' actions as part of a consensual lifestyle and rejecting the government's claim of coercion. The proposed $50 million bond would be secured by Combs' private island mansion near Miami, a major increase from an earlier offer of $1 million, along with restricted travel to New York, Los Angeles, and Miami Beach. This is all for the entertainment. I remain Precious Oganiro.
Well, Precious, thank you. And it's a wrap for us on News Hour, but before we go, a quick look at the headlines. Abuja hospitals discharge patients as nurses begin strike. Also, federal government appeals to nurses and midwives to shelve strike. Abbas says 55% Nigerian youths unemployed over skills gap. And NNPCL forecloses sale of Port Harcourt refinery. 8 buildings collapsed in Borno on increased flooding, and police hunt killers of Anambra businessman. On the foreign scene, over 60 rights group pressure Macron on Haiti reparations. In business news, a shippers council seeks Abia government support on dry port revival. And in sports news, FIMF complains to CAF over WAFCON final refereeing. In entertainment news, Two-Face Idibia marries Natasha Osawaru in Abuja. Do also subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are Voice of the People TV. On other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. I am Vivian Oguche. Thank you for joining us.